We've been discussing this CoreX framework for leaders, a way to not only grow yourself but to grow your team, to lift the lid on your organization because you're becoming better as a leader and you're growing your team along with you. And we've looked at the 5 platforms of leadership, essential platforms of leadership that make up the CoreX name: our culture, operation, results, expansion, and the X factor. We looked at the process. We looked at the process of identifying issues. What is the issue we're dealing with? Which platform does the issue, which is it on? How do we need to address it? What's the context of the issue we're addressing? How do we engage the right people? And we look at this 360 view of how to get the right people at the table. And then we talked about applying values. And I want to pause on that one right now because as a leader, you have to take ownership of applying the values to your organization. That's who you are. It's what you believe. It's how you want to behave. It's how you want to treat each other within the organization. It's how you want other people to treat you. And we need to keep that in mind as we're leading our team. And I want to talk about these values of teamwork. I refer to them as the universal values of teamwork. And I want to share these with you. The first one is clarity. If you're going to get a team moving in the right direction as a leader, that is one of the things that you have to do. Is we can create a lot of frustration on a team if we do not have clarity. If we don't know what the objective is, if we have not clearly identified the issue that we're trying to solve or address, then people will get frustrated. Everybody is going to interpret the situation according to their own perspective and not share a unified view of how this needs to move forward or this needs to change. As a leader, only you can bring clarity to the situation. Have you communicated what you need to communicate with people in a way that they understood what you meant? Because communication is basically a message sent and a message received. Was the message received the same as the message you intended to send? But here's one of the other huge issues on clarity, is we might feel like we've explained it really, really well. We might feel like we've put it out there where people should understand this. But do we have their buy-in? Have we explained it? Have we made it clear in such a way that is compelling to them? So not only do we want it to be clear, but we need it to be compelling. It should be something that would connect with them as team members so they understand. So we want to ask this question: are we clear ourselves as a leader? And have we communicated clearly? That's the value of clarity. The next one I want to talk about is this value of cohesiveness. Do we truly believe that we're better together? You know, as we put a team together, we will have people with different gift sets, different abilities, different temperaments. Everybody is going to be different on your team. And when you approach something the way you would want to do it, there are going to be other people on the team that want to do it differently because of how they see the situation, or they may be approaching it from their personality type or their particular skill set. What will happen on team, especially if you have someone who's highly visionary and someone who is very task-oriented and getting the job done and getting it done correctly, is you can create tension between those two. And that tension on a team is a good thing if we recognize it, but do we really believe that we are better together, that with those people with different gift sets and abilities actually help the team to accomplish more when we pull together? One of my favorite illustrations of this is the one that I heard about a Belgian workhorse. If you take a Belgian workhorse, one of those big Clydesdale-looking horses, and you have it drag a weight across the ground, it can drag by itself about 3 tons of weight across the ground. But if you take 2 Belgian workhorses and you put them together and harness them together, they can pull about 10 tons. But then if you go even further than that and you take those 2 horses and you put them with a trainer that teaches them how to best pull together, they can pull as much as 15 tons across the ground. And how are we doing that with our teams? Do we really believe that we can do more together? And as a leader, are you creating cohesiveness with your team? The next universal value is this value of character. Do we trust each other's intent and performance? You see, because the only way that you can build trust on a team is to build trust on intent. Trust is an emotion. When we look at someone else, we either trust them or we don't, and it's not always based on their performance. If we do not trust their intent, even someone who has a great performance, we may start feeling jealous about them, or we may start questioning what their motives are. Now, it doesn't mean that performance is not part of trust. It certainly is. But we have to learn to trust each other's intent. And trusting intent involves trusting that person's character. Is this someone that's going to do what they say they're going to do? Are they going to do it in a way that is consistent with what you believe and what your core values are and your defining values as an organization? And then the very next one after that is this value of competence. Do team members have the appropriate skills and aptitude to do what we're asking them to do? You know, Jim Collins referred to this in Good to Great as, do we have the right people on the right seats on the bus? If you were going on a journey, are they in the right seats? Are they doing what they are particularly skilled and designed to be able to do? Because if you have someone that's in the wrong seat, if you're asking someone to do a job that they do not have an aptitude or the skills for, it's going to hold back the entire team. And I used to believe that attitude is everything, but I don't believe that anymore. I think it's attitude and aptitude together. It's not only this person that wants to do a good job and has the right character, but it's someone who also has the skill sets to do what you're asking them to do, because you can have someone with a great attitude and with great character that cannot get the job done, and that's not going to advance the team. Now, we don't need to get rid of that person, we just need to find another seat on the bus. What are their skill sets and what are their abilities where we can possibly use them somewhere else? And then the final one that I want to talk about, and this is very, very important as a leader, is this issue of capacity. Is everyone at their best so we can accomplish the most? What I see happening in organizations too often, especially an organization as it begins to grow, is we ask people to keep doing more and more. You've maybe been in this position yourself. If you do a good job, your reward for doing a good job is for someone to ask you to do more, because they can depend on you. They know that you're going to do it well, and without realizing it, they keep turning it up just a little bit. They just keep adding another straw to the camel's back. And we've heard that proverb, the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's that continually adding and adding and adding to the point where it was so incremental we hardly even noticed it, but one day we crushed under the weight of the responsibilities that we've been given. So here's the question for you as a leader, and only you can address this as the leader of your organization or your team. As you're looking at your culture as an organization, as you look at your values, this is one of the most important ones, because people are your greatest asset. And if your people are at their best, this is physically, emotionally, spiritually, support-wise, and relationally within the organization, when your team members are at their best, that's when they can do the most. If they're burning out, if they're distracted, if they're overworked, if they're frustrated, if they're not getting along with the other people on their team, they're not going to be at their best, and they certainly can't do the most. So this is a great challenge as a leader, to look at your team and start figuring out and ask yourself the question, how can I help this team be at its best? So the Core X framework. The Core X framework is one that, as you work through this process of understanding the essential platforms of leadership, when you put good process in place to identify issues, engage the right people, apply values, and to then create what I call intentional excellence, you can start moving your team forward. But most of all, as a leader, you have to apply these 5 universal values of teamwork in order to get the most out of your team.